kiddos, today we are going to be making some homemade salsa, and then we're going to see how it stacks up to some store-bought salsa. So you can find the recipe in your Google Classroom. I'm ready to go, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. I have all of my produce washed and prepped and ready. I have a damp paper towel under my cutting board so it kind of keeps it in place. My knife is sharp and ready to go. So you can do this in a food processor, a blender, a mixer. So I'm going to use my blender here. All right. So we're going to start with half a can of diced tomatoes. I have my recipe. It is July 2020 as I am recording this, and we are still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, so we're not having any parties around here. So it seems silly to buy the whole can and only use half, but I'm not going to eat that much salsa, so I can use this rest of this in another recipe for dinner or lunch tomorrow. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put half a can of tomatoes in there, and that cost me about 50 cents. And then I'm going to use 3 Roma tomatoes, which in total cost me about 80 cents. I'm going to just do a real quick chop on these. You don't have to get too precise, too diced or small, because you're going to throw it right in the blender, food processor, or whatever you're using. So just go ahead and cut them down to size a little bit. Right? So nothing fancy here. Just small enough sections that they're not going to get stuck in the processor. Alright, put them in there. Don't forget, your hands should be super clean. You should have an apron on. Hair should be up if you need it. Actually, I'm going to put the onion in next. This is a red tomato, and I'm going to use, for this sized down recipe, I'm going to use a quarter of it, which cost me about 25 cents. Red onions are a big hit around my house, so not to worry. This will not go to waste. I'm throwing everything in a garbage bowl over here. It's just to keep my kitchen nice and neat and clean, and so I don't have to run to the garbage every time. So throw those in there. Some garlic. You need about a clove of garlic. This will cost you about 6 cents. I'm going to smash using the heel of my hand here and the blade of my knife. You don't have to go crazy, but just break that down a little so you can peel it. Get rid of that peel. And again, it's small enough, but I'm going to go ahead and give it just one slice through so that it helps break it up in there. I'm going to use this guy here. I cheated a little bit on this because my neighbor had just given me a bunch of these shishito peppers, which is a little less spicy. It's not quite as hot as a jalapeno, which for me is really good. I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to the spicy food. And also it saves me money. And when I went to the store to look for the jalapenos, I could only find a big bunch of them. It was like a pack, like a plastic pack that came with about 6 or 7 of them in there, and I just didn't need that much. But I did go ahead and look up the price for you just so that we can do this cost comparison with the store-bought. Half a jalapeno will cost you about 21 cents if you do want to go that route. Alright, so I'm going to de-seed it. I don't know if you can see here, but I'm just taking all that white fleshy stuff out and the seeds and throwing that in my garbage bowl because we don't need those in there. The seeds will add spice, so if you are looking for that, you can just go ahead and keep them right in there. Okay, crunch that up, put that in there. Cilantro. You are going to look for about a quarter cup or about a half of a handful. So since we're putting it in the blender, I'm not even going to take the stems off this. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Just kind of angle it so you don't get all the stems in there, but not a big deal. Some of them, if they're bigger pieces and you want to take them out, go ahead and do that. Okay, and the rest, just give these another little chop and plop them into your mixer as well. Okay, we're almost there. Just going to add 1 tablespoon of lime. I know that each lime and lemon yields roughly 2 tablespoons. So to get 1 tablespoon, I'm just going to use half of it. I'm just going to squeeze it right in, just using my hands, because I don't want to do another dish. I'm not going to get out my juicer, which I could, and then you can measure it, and if you're more comfortable doing that, go for it. I'm just doing it right over my hand so that if any seeds fall out, I can catch them in my hand before they go in. Okay. And then we have seasonings. So I'm going to use about 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, 1/8 teaspoon of cumin, salt and pepper to taste, and I have guesstimated all of these seasonings should cost you roughly 15 cents. That's, you probably have these already in a big jar at home and you'll just use a little bit of them. So that's going to go right in there. All right, I think I got everything. So here comes the loud part. Very sorry. Lid on nice and tight. I'm going to pulse it because you want salsa, you want it to be liquid and all kind of one mash. You don't really want to see each of the individual ingredients, the components, but I don't need to do anything crazy here, so I'm going to pulse. Nope, I'm not. I'm going to turn it on first. Alright, I think we're good. Let's take it out and give it a try. Looks nice. Get my blade out. It smells really good. Nice and fresh. Alright, there we go. Now let's give it a taste and we'll talk about how it stacks up to the store-bought. Okay. Get that out of the way real quick. Came together really quickly, which is nice. That's good. Nice and fresh. Love it. All right, so let's talk about how this fares when we challenge it up to the store-bought salsa. So for convenience, store-bought definitely wins hand down. This came together super quickly. I wouldn't say this is a hard recipe, and I know you guys can all pull this together, but it still is easier to just grab that jar. So convenience, store-bought's gonna win. Cost, this amount here cost me about $3.06. So this is for 7 servings, which comes down to about 44 cents per serving. The store-bought will cost you roughly $3.28 for a 14.5-ounce jar, but there are 13 servings in there. So the store-bought is a bit cheaper at 25 cents per serving. So store-bought wins in that category as well. For nutrition though, I'm going to give homemade a hands down win because anything store-bought, canned, or jarred is definitely going to have more sodium in there than you need, and you really just can't beat the nutrients and minerals from the fresh produce that we put into here. So nutrition, homemade, definitely a win. And then taste category, I mean really, there's no competition, right? Homemade definitely wins for taste category as well. So that's it. There you have it. I hope you guys try this one at home and let me know how it goes. Enjoy.